a hole plunging over 100 meters deep into the middle of the Yemen desert. For centuries, no one dared to approach it, not due to a lack of curiosity, but because locals believed it was a prison for demons. In 2021, for the first time in history, a team of explorers decided to rope down to the bottom in search of answers. What they found down there turned out to be something no one in the region could have ever imagined. What truly lies at the bottom of that pit? The answer awaits you at the end of this video. But before we get there, 9 other locations are waiting, each harboring a truth so profound that unless you see it with your own eyes, you would never believe it exists on our very own planet. Let's begin with a place where millions of people line up to take photos every year, completely unaware that with just one wrong step, the line between life and death could vanish in a matter of hours. A pool of water gleaming with the brilliance of a rainbow, so breathtakingly beautiful that many mistake it for an AI-generated image. Every year, tens of millions of people line up just to snap a photo with it. Yet, few know that this very water once caused a human being to dissolve almost completely in less than 24 hours. This is the Grand Prismatic Spring, the largest hot spring in the United States, nestled in the heart of Yellowstone. As you step closer, a wave of heat hits your face, and the sharp scent of sulfur fills your nose. The center of the spring is a crystal clear turquoise, where temperatures hover near 90 degrees Celsius, 194 Fahrenheit, far too extreme for any life to survive. But moving toward the edges, the water shifts into shades of orange and deep red, a sign of billions of ancient bacteria thriving silently in the near-boiling water. Those vibrant bands of color aren't an invitation. They're a sign of an extreme ecosystem. The ground around the spring is nothing more than a thin, brittle mineral crust that can collapse under a person's weight, with water nearing boiling point running just beneath it. The danger isn't in what you can see, but in what you can't. There's no clear line between solid ground and a collapse waiting to happen. Step just a few feet off the boardwalk and you could be standing on a hollow crust with temperatures no human body could withstand lying just below it. What's frightening here isn't isolation. This is a closely monitored site, lined with clear warning signs. And yet the line between safety and danger sometimes comes down to a single step and one small decision. But if you think a place this tightly controlled marks the limit, try somewhere completely different. No one in sight, no one watching over it, for more than half a century. Yet, the line between life and death here can sometimes be measured in a single misstep. But if you think a heavily guarded place isn't terrifying enough, try visiting somewhere completely opposite. A place entirely deserted, with absolutely no one watching, for over half a century. From a distance, it resembles a grey warship rising from the open sea. No greenery, no life, just concrete and rusted steel, covering every square meter. Yet, Few would guess that over 50 years ago, this was the most densely populated place on Earth, crowded even more than downtown Tokyo in terms of population density. This is Hashima, also known by another name, Gunkanjima, Battleship Island. In the 1950s, this island was the heart of Japan's undersea coal mining industry. Tens of thousands of people packed into the country's very first high-rise concrete apartment blocks, built so close together that almost no open space remained. Schools, hospitals, movie theaters, all crammed onto a footprint of less than 6 hectares. Then, in 1974, the coal mines dried up. Within a few weeks, the entire population evacuated. Not gradually, almost instantly. Stepping inside today, you are met with a scene frozen in time. Shattered windows, pitch-black corridors carpeted in moss and mold, and cracked concrete staircases on the verge of collapse. The ocean wind howls through empty window frames, creating a sound like moans echoing from rooms abandoned for nearly half a century. The Japanese government now only allows tourists to follow a single, designated walkway far from the main structures. This is not just because the rotting buildings could collapse at any moment, but also because the air inside many areas is contaminated with asbestos, a material once widely used in construction that is highly toxic to the lungs if inhaled over time. There is a lesser-known detail. Many apartments here still hold their original belongings, old televisions, bottles, and even wall calendars still frozen on the year 1974. It is as if everyone left in the middle of a regular morning and never returned. A city that was once the ultimate symbol of a nation's industrial prosperity is now nothing more than a concrete skeleton, standing silent in the sea, waiting for the waves and time to drag it into the depths of the ocean. And if an island can die after just a few decades of abandonment, how terrifying would a forest look after nearly 40 years of being poisoned by human radiation? A pine forest once lush and green, turning blood red in a matter of days before dying right where it stood, not collapsing, not rotting, just standing frozen as a silent warning for nearly 4 decades. This is the Red Forest, located right next to the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, the site of the worst nuclear disaster in human history in 1986. Just hours after the explosion, a colossal wave of radiation swept through, causing the entire pine forest to absorb lethal levels of radiation almost instantly. Within days, the needles shifted from green to a stark red, and the trees died on their feet. Surprisingly, they didn't decay like normal dead wood, because the radiation was so intense that it wiped out the very bacteria and insects responsible for decomposition. The result was an entire forest dead on its feet, permanently frozen in the exact moment it was poisoned. Not far away lies Pripyat, a city that was once home to 50,000 residents, just a few kilometers from the plant. Only 36 hours after the explosion, the entire population was ordered to evacuate immediately, under the promise that they would return in a few days. They never did. Stepping into this ghost city today, you will see a rusted, towering Ferris wheel standing completely still. It was scheduled to open just days after the disaster, but it never carried a single passenger. Inside abandoned classrooms, textbooks, children's gas masks and dolls still lie scattered across the floors, buried under a thick layer of dust, untouched for nearly 40 years. Radiation levels in many parts of this zone remain so high that scientists estimate it will take hundreds of years before humans can safely live here again. Yet, in the heart of what is considered the deadliest land in Europe, a paradox is quietly unfolding. Wolves, bears, and even the Przewalski's horse, a species once on the brink of extinction, are now thriving more than ever inside this exclusion zone. No humans, no hunting, no traffic. The land that humans once poisoned has now become one of the wildest natural sanctuaries left in Europe. A place where humans cannot return, but where nature is silently reclaiming every single meter. On land, radiation was enough to turn a city into a graveyard. But beneath the ocean depths, what could create a trap so perfect that it can be seen from outer space? A near-perfect circle of deep blue, standing out against the crystal-clear turquoise waters of Belize. So distinct that astronauts on the International Space Station can easily spot it from orbit. This is the Great Blue Hole, one of the largest marine sinkholes in the world. Tens of thousands of years ago, this place was a dry limestone cave system entirely on land. But as the last ice age ended, rising sea levels submerged the entire cave, causing its roof to collapse and leaving behind a massive sinkhole plunging 124 meters into the ocean floor. Diving down from the surface, the upper layer remains crystal clear, with sunlight piercing through to create shimmering beams of light. But the deeper you go, the light fades rapidly, giving way to a dense pitch-black darkness. At a depth of several dozen meters, massive stalactites still hang perfectly intact, living proof that this was once a dry cave before being swallowed by the sea. Yet that mystical beauty hides an invisible trap. At the deepest layer of the hole lies a thick, stagnant blanket of toxic hydrogen sulfide gas. This highly poisonous gas can cause unconsciousness within just a few breaths, leaving virtually no distinct odor to warn you before it's too late. In 2018, an expedition led by Fabien Cousteau, grandson of the legendary ocean explorer Jacques Cousteau, became the first in history to pilot submersibles to the very bottom for a comprehensive survey. What they found was not just ancient limestone topography, but also the remains of a few divers who had gone missing years prior, still resting peacefully in the untouched darkness. The Great Blue Hole remains a bucket list destination for thousands of professional divers worldwide each year. But for quite a few of them, it is also their final resting place. A deep blue circle, so breathtakingly beautiful it can be seen from space, yet hiding a scentless, colorless, and utterly unannounced death trap deep below. Water can hide a death trap, but what about stone? As it turns out, stone also knows how to kill, only it does so in a much sharper way. From above, it looks like an ordinary silver-grey forest stretching across the heart of Madagascar. But those are not trees. Those are thousands of razor-sharp limestone needles, some towering up to 50 meters high, packed so tightly together they resemble a colossal forest of blades piercing the sky. This is Tsingy de Bemaraha, a name that, in the native Malagasy language, literally means the place where one cannot walk barefoot. Over millions of years, mildly acidic rainwater seeped into the crevices of the limestone plateau, gradually eroding the softer rock and leaving behind only the hardest, sharpest pillars, standing vertical to form a labyrinth with no clear escape. There is no flat ground here. Every single step requires clipping into specialized safety harnesses and squeezing through narrow fissures barely wide enough for a single person, with gaping chasms plunging down between the stone spires below. A single slip or a loose rope is all it takes for a body to plummet into the deep rock crevices below, where rescue teams can almost never reach in time due to the punishing terrain. Yet, in the middle of this deadly stone labyrinth, one creature calls this place home. The lemurs of Madagascar have evolved to leap flawlessly from one jagged peak to another, their paws seemingly immune to the razor-sharp edges that could slice through human skin at the slightest touch. On a map or satellite image, Tsingy looks like nothing more than a harmless, pale, grey patch amid the vibrant green of the surrounding rainforest. Only when you step inside do you truly understand. This is no forest. This is a natural labyrinth of blades, sharpened by time over millions of years. And if stone can become such a silent, lethal weapon, how long would it take for a subterranean cave, where heat and humidity far exceed the limits of the human body, to literally cook a person alive? A cave filled with colossal, translucent crystals, some stretching dozens of meters long, weaving intricately from ceiling to floor, as if someone had erected a subterranean crystal palace. This is Cueva de los Cristales, buried deep within the Nika mine in Mexico, one of the most bizarre geological wonders ever discovered by humanity. Yet that surreal beauty comes with one of the most hostile environments still existent on Earth. Temperatures inside the cave fluctuate between 45 and 65 degrees Celsius, 113 to 149 Fahrenheit, coupled with a near absolute humidity of 100%. In these conditions, the human body can only survive for about 10 minutes before plunging into heat stroke. The blood thickens, The lungs fail to exchange air effectively, and without immediate rescue, death can arrive very quickly. These giant crystal formations did not appear overnight. For hundreds of thousands of years, mineral-rich water seeped through the rock crevices, kept at a near-constant temperature by the smoldering magma chamber beneath. It was this rare stability that allowed the gypsum crystals to grow to unreal proportions, something virtually impossible anywhere else on the planet. To study this place, scientists were forced to wear specialized protective suits equipped with built-in cooling systems and oxygen tanks, resembling astronauts stepping out into open space. Even with full gear, their time inside was strictly capped at just a few dozen minutes per session. But the most tragic turning point came in 2017. When mining operations ceased, the groundwater pumping systems shut down with them. Water gradually rose, submerging the entire cave once again, returning it to the state it was in for hundreds of thousands of years before human discovery. Since then, virtually no one has been able to set foot inside. A wonder that once left the entire scientific community in awe now exists only in rare documentary footage and the memories of the few who were fortunate enough to witness it before the water sealed off every entrance. A wonder that vanished in just a few years. But there are things that have been disappearing for centuries, their exact numbers unknown, left with nothing but the fog and the shipwrecks resting there forever. Hundreds of rusted shipwrecks lie scattered along a desolate shoreline, their hulls half buried in the sand, blanketed by a thick fog that never fully clears all year round. This is the Skeleton Coast, stretching along the western shores of Namibia, one of the largest ship graveyards in the world. This chilling name is no metaphor. For centuries, the bones of both ill-fated sailors and washed-up whales lay bleaching on the sand, piling up over time, creating a haunting image that made ancient mariners shudder at the mere mention of this coast. The cause stems from a cruel geographical irony. This is where the driest desert on the planet, the Namib Desert, collides directly with the frigid Benguela Current, one of the coldest ocean currents. The extreme temperature contrast between the hot desert air and the cold water spawns a dense, permanent fog for most of the year, blinding passing ships and driving them straight into hidden sandbars. But the true tragedy didn't end with the shipwreck. Many sailors who were fortunate enough to survive swam ashore, thinking they had cheated death. Yet waiting behind them was not salvation, but hundreds of kilometers of barren desert, not a single drop of water, not a single soul. Countless survivors died of thirst just a few kilometers away from the very ocean they had narrowly escaped. And yet, in a land where survival seems impossible, a few species have found bizarre ways to adapt. Desert-adapted elephants have learned to travel dozens of kilometers to locate rare underground water sources, while Cape fur seals gather in massive colonies directly on the shores that became a grave for so many humans. The boundary between the ocean, which brings life, and the desert, which brings death, is sometimes separated by just a few hundred meters of sand. The fog kills in silence. But death does not always need invisibility. In some places, it stands in plain sight, yet no one sees it coming. A dense forest stretching across the foothills of Mount Fuji, but something feels off from the very first step. No birds singing, no wind rustling through the canopy, only a thick, heavy silence so profound that you can clearly hear the echo of your own footsteps among thousands of tree trunks. This is Aokigahara, the forest nestled right at the base of Japan's iconic mountain. What makes this place terrifying isn't wild beasts or treacherous terrain, but an invisible phenomenon that leaves even the most experienced hikers completely helpless. The soil beneath the forest contains an exceptionally high concentration of iron ore, originating from Mount Fuji's volcanic lava flows centuries ago. This massive amount of iron causes compass needles to spin erratically, making them useless for navigation, and even GPS signals in certain areas become distorted, drifting significantly from your actual position. Once you venture deep inside, there is no way to orient yourself using conventional methods. The trees here grow so densely, their interlocking canopies blocking out almost all sunlight, that every single direction looks identical. Many who have entered the forest have completely lost their bearings, walking in hopeless circles without ever realizing they are retracing their exact steps. Scientifically, this phenomenon is entirely explainable. It stems from the unique volcanic geology of the region, completely unrelated to any supernatural elements. Yet, it is this unsettling silence, combined with the uselessness of a compass, that has inextricably linked this forest to countless legends and made it a familiar fixture in Japanese folklore for generations. From above, Aokigahara appears as nothing more than a lush, peaceful sea of green, just like any other forest at the foot of the mountain. But beneath that dense canopy, direction, something humans have always trusted they could navigate on their own, loses all meaning without a single warning. Magnetic fields can make a person lose their way, but getting lost is a stroke of luck compared to becoming a meal. A labyrinth of winding channels, snaking through lush green mangroves, stretching endlessly to the horizon. From above, it looks like one of the most beautiful and diverse ecosystems on the planet. But hidden beneath that vibrant green canopy lies a chilling truth. This is the only place on Earth where tigers actively hunt humans as prey. This is the Sundarbans, the largest mangrove forest in the world, straddling the border between India and Bangladesh. The Bengal tigers living here have developed hunting behaviors vastly different from their relatives anywhere else. Because natural prey in the mangrove swamps is scarce, they have been forced to expand their diet, and humans have inadvertently become targets. It is estimated that dozens of people lose their lives to tiger attacks here every year, a statistic that gives the Sundarbans the highest rate of tiger-related human fatalities in the world. To protect themselves, locals once devised a bizarre yet logical tactic. Wearing a human-faced mask on the back of their heads when entering the forest to fish or collect honey. Because Bengal tigers typically stalk and ambush their prey from behind, the mask tricks their vision, making them hesitate to strike by creating the illusion that their target is looking straight at them. But tigers are not the only danger lurking in this forest. Colossal saltwater crocodiles, measuring over 6 meters long, camouflage themselves in the mud and root systems, ready to strike whenever any creature wades through the shallows. Venomous snakes blanket the dense brush, and the treacherous mudflats themselves can swallow a careless step, trapping a person deep with no way to escape on their own. Having coexisted with danger for generations, the local people have formed a unique spiritual belief. They worship the forest goddess, Bonbibi, a deity believed to protect those who enter the wilderness with respect and without greed. This belief is not mere superstition, but a crystallization of raw, real fear, passed down through generations to remind humans to always remain vigilant against nature. One of the most stunning ecosystems left on Earth is also one of the few places where humans, no matter how civilized, have never truly stood at the top of the food chain. The tiger is a real, visible, and understood predator. But there is another place where, for centuries, humans believed that what lurked beneath was far more terrifying than any beast. The very place mentioned at the beginning of this video. Remember that hole plunging over 100 meters into the Yemeni desert I mentioned at the very start of this video? This is the moment the answer finally gets revealed. This is the Well of Barhound, though locals know it by a far more haunting name, the Well of Hell. For centuries, not a single soul in the region dared approach the mouth of this pit. People believed it was a prison for jinns, demonic spirits from Middle Eastern folklore, sealed deep beneath the earth so they could never harm humanity. Even local geologists admitted they had no real idea what lay at the bottom. The hole was so deep that oxygen was nearly absent, with no air circulation at all. In September 2021, for the first time in recorded history, a team of 10 explorers decided to break that centuries-long silence. Using a pulley system, they lowered 8 members down past 100 meters, while the remaining 2 stayed behind to keep watch at the surface. The moment they got close to the bottom, a thick, foul stench hit the air, exactly as the legends had described for generations. But what awaited them down there was the complete opposite of everything they'd imagined. 4 waterfalls, each nearly 46 meters tall, poured down from the rock walls, carrying fresh water into the heart of the desert. Around them lay stunning cave formations, stalagmites, stalactites, and glittering green cave pearls shaped over thousands of years by nothing but falling water. An entire ecosystem quietly thrived in that permanent darkness. Toads, snakes, beetles, lizards, even birds. So what about the foul stench that haunted generations, long believed to be proof of demons? The truth was startlingly simple. Just the smell of decay, from birds that had fallen into the pit over the years and could never fly back out. No demons, no spirits, no trace that anyone had ever set foot down there before. A legend that terrified people for centuries turned out to be hiding not the gates of hell, but one of the most beautiful, untouched natural wonders left on the planet. 10 locations. 10 times humanity stood on the razor's edge between life and death without even realizing it. But there is something even deeper to ponder. All of these places existed long before humans ever arrived, and they will endure long after we are gone. The question is not how many dangerous places this planet holds. The question is, how much do we truly know about the very place we call home? Comment below with the location that surprised you the most. And hit subscribe, because this is definitely not the final list.